And actually, I'm going to do my herbs in this year. I've always had my herbs growing right outside the kitchen door. Because if you've got to walk pretty far to get them to cook, forget it. You're not going to go get them. And so I do have rosemary and thyme planted. We have a real steep little embankment, and so I planted them for ground cover in the fall. And they made it beautifully through, and they're just going to cover that up, and they smell so good when you walk by. But you know, I just never want to walk all the way down to that spot. I have to go down the stairs of the deck, down the walkway, and it's too much trouble. So I'm going to put 6 herbs in one of these on my deck. Because I have a new house. My other 2 houses, I could go right outside the back door and get them, but I want to go right outside when I'm cooking and snip them off and bring them in. So I'm going to, and 6 herbs in here works out great because there's 6 really popular, easy to grow. If you've never done herbs, what you want to start with is rosemary, basil, which I don't think we have any basil yet. It's a little early for basil. Thyme, oregano, chives, and parsley. And I've grown all of those, and I am really not I like to grow flowers, but I am not a good vegetable grower. I tried growing vegetables one time, and I decided it was much easier for me to go buy a can of peas in the grocery store. So, and so I've never grown vegetables. But I was at my sister's house one time, and she cut some fresh basil to put on a sandwich, and it just looked so sophisticated, and I thought, wow, if she can do that, I can do that.
Excuse me, Delores, did you actually eat canned peas? You actually eat them? Okay.
I wasn't supposed to say that.
You should have come to the vegetable workshop.
Cut that off the video, okay? That was back in the 1970s. Today, I would never eat canned peas, okay. So, because my dad supplies me a fresh one, so. But I can grow herbs, and I love cooking with them because it's again, I feel like a really good cook. You know, I feel like I'm really sophisticated here that I'm using fresh herbs, and it just makes everything taste better. And you can just kind of get the hang of the ones that you like the way they taste and put them on anything. Make up your own recipes. It's really not hard. Tricks with some of these: basil does not last through the winter. You have to buy it in the spring. If you use a lot of basil, you want to get a couple, 2 or 3 plants. But if you're not a big basil eater, just get one. It'll supply you fine. When basil starts to flower, or actually when any of them start to flower, but basil will do it easily, cut the flowers. And you can actually eat the flowers. They taste good too. But once it goes to flowering, it stops putting out growth and leaves, and it just wants to produce seed, and so you want to fool the plant. You don't want to let the plant get into that reproductive mode. So always cut its flowers off if you're not harvesting it to eat anyway. Parsley, personally, let's see, what did they do? They put the curly leaf here, and I think this is the flat leaf over here. It is cilantro. Okay, they didn't put a flat leaf in. I'm not sure if we have flat leaf right now. Yeah, this is the flat, plain Italian. That must be flat leaf, yeah. This is better for cooking. Flat leaf. Curly leaf is more just for pretty. I don't even grow curly leaf. It does look pretty in your garden though. If you just, put it down in with the flowers and things, it's real pretty. But for cooking, you want to use flat leaf. And it is biennial. And so the first year you plant it, it does really well. The next year, all it wants to do is make flowers. So it will live through the winter, but then the next year it's like, this isn't doing anything. And that's the reason. So you really should replace your parsley every year if you want to use it for cooking. Or just put it in the ground and let it flower that year and get you a new one for cooking, for using for cooking. Thymes and rosemary are very hardy through the winter. Don't have to worry about them at all. Chives make it through the winter nicely. I love when I have a baked potato, go outside, get the chives, come in, just cut them up right there on top of my potato. Oregano is really good in Italian cooking. I don't find it to be very strong. The dried stuff is much stronger, and I think Greek oregano is supposed to be stronger than Italian oregano. And we do carry both. I'm not sure if we have both in right now. We've just started to get the new crops in. Garlic chives are stronger than regular chives. And thyme, this little thing right here comes in all different flavors. You can get regular old thyme, and then you can get lemon thyme, lime thyme, coconut thyme, and they provide all kinds of different flavors, obviously, with it. I was just seeing if there's anything else about the basic ones. Yeah, and rosemary, we have two different ways that rosemary grows. This is called a prostrata, or a spreading. It spreads out, and then there's a lot of varieties that grow up. And some of these will get 2-3 feet tall, make just a nice bush out in your shrubbery. And so you can use them in different ways. If you're going to do it in an herb garden, I would use the prostrata one. I'm going to put that's what I'm going to put in here. So it'll hang over the side and it won't take up so much room. And I can keep the back cut off and just let it hang over the side if it's invading my other herbs. Some other more, beyond the basics, I'd say, dill and fennel are good. Butterflies love both of them. Especially fennel, and fennel will get real tall in your garden like this. It's real pretty, very airy and kind of bronze. We carry a bronze fennel usually, and that's real pretty color. And butterflies love that. Let them eat it. When you say something's eat, the caterpillars eat the fennel, and then they make butterflies. So when you see caterpillars eating your herbs, let them. They love parsley too. I mean, you can plant curly leaf parsley just for the caterpillars so that they'll make butterflies, because you don't want to eat that anyway. You want the other kind. Oh, the other thing about planting herbs in a box, I've never heard anybody else say this, but I have big dogs, and when I started planting herbs, I put them all, each different herb in a different pot, and I put them on kind of a shelf system like this that I had on my deck. And because I didn't want to plant them in the ground, because I was afraid my dogs would go to the bathroom on my herbs and that I wouldn't know it, and then I would eat them. And so I was really like, I cringe about eating herbs that have been on the ground when my dogs are in the yard. So that's why I started out putting them in pots, and it works just fine. There's two things one's called lemon balm and lemon verbena, and they just make great lemon flavoring in anything. And they kind of look like a mint or an oregano. I think we have one of them here somewhere. Lemon, is this a lemon? This is lemon balm right here. And if you just take it and just do this, you'll smell lemon. It's really good, very strong. Mint, we talked about, we sell sweet bay, you know, those bay leaves that you buy in the bottle that are dried. We sell little bushes of it, and we have bushes that have big bushes of it, so that you can just plant that around here and have that all the time. Lavender, everybody wants lavender. It is the one that people come back and tell us, I'm having a hard time growing my lavender. When we put it in a container, it seems to grow just beautifully here. We don't seem to have a problem. The only thing I can figure is because we forget to water it. And that's why it grows well here. They can't have wet feet. You got to water them and let them dry out. Make sure they don't sit in a saucer that holds water. They get the water, have it dry. Water them in the morning so that they dry out through the day. We just can't quite figure out what's going wrong with people unless they're just over-watering it or letting it sit in water. But you don't want to let it dry out either. It's got to have water, but then it's got to drain. So that's important. But there's a lot of different varieties, and they smell really good. Cilantro. Everybody loves cilantro. We had it right here. Somebody pointed it out to me. And I tried growing cilantro, and I'd make a little harvest, and then it would never do anything. And I talked to people, and they said, you know, cilantro, that's just so hard to grow. And then I finally learned that once you cut it, it won't keep producing. So you can only get one crop out of it. So if you want to have cilantro all summer long, you have to start seeds every 2 weeks. Or depending on how frequently you use it. But and once it goes to seed, if it goes to seed before you harvest it, that's it. You can't cut that off and get more leaves. You're just going to, and when it goes to seed, that seed is actually coriander. So if you like coriander, plant cilantro and let it go to seed. But that's the reason that you have trouble with cilantro, is it won't keep regenerating leaves once you it's done its thing and you cut it. So, but if you wanted to start, learning how to grow it from seed and start a new crop every 2 weeks, if you have time to do that, go for it. And then one other thing that's kind of interesting, and we didn't bring it over here, we just got a few in on the nursery and they're up front, is the citronella plant. Some people call it the mosquito plant. It's an herb, but it's what citronella comes from. And they can get pretty big, about that tall, so 2 to 3 feet tall and wide. And you plant them around your deck or wherever you kind of sit out, and it helps to keep out the mosquitoes for you in the evening, and they smell good. And the other thing I just wanted to mention about herbs is I've been talking a lot about growing them for eating them, but just growing them for their colors and the varieties of texture. They're just lovely. I mean, that you can get this purple, this is a sage, and then we have this sage that's like a yellow and green variegation, and just all the different textures. And then I always find it interesting, this is the cilantro mosquito plant. I'm sorry, citronella, thank you. That's the citronella. And, one thing that I find it so interesting is Susie that works here, that buys our annuals and perennials and our herbs. She always, whenever she's near a plant, she can't help but touch it, and she's always doing this. And so that's what you want to do to your herbs. When you walk by them, just do this, and it's like nature's perfume on your hands, Oh, and this is the sweet bay. So you can have your own sweet bay leaves. So that's one thing that I find so interesting, is that, we look at plants, we smell them, but they appeal to all our senses because they appeal to touch too, and the textures of them. So I think that was kind of all that I wanted to start out with. Well, happy cooking and growing, and you'll all come back and be giving me helpful hints when you come back, because a lot of it's trial and error. We appreciate you coming, okay? Thank you.